In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Affinity Photo's fill layers, fill gradients to create all kinds of amazing colour designs. You can merge them, rasterize them, using different blends and much more to create really amazing designs with images, type and shapes and much more. I'm going to be using an image. First thing to do to create a gradient fill layer is to go to Layer and then down to New Fill Layer. That's the key thing. Creates a gradient layer that can be manipulated in countless ways. So New Fill Layer, and the default is the colour you've got here. You can also go over here to the gradient tool. Conveniently, it's selected the gradient tool. That's really good. And then you can apply. So you've got that colour that you had before and you dragged and it creates black. That's the default. And you can see now you've got the colour there and the colour there. And if you select the stop, you'll notice what happens. That gets bigger. That's the active stop that you can change the colours of. So you might not want black. You can just go over here and you can select, say, red. And the key thing is swatches. Really useful. Colours there. So go and select that. Maybe go with that or blue and so on. So hundreds of different colours can be created just by simply going here and tweaking the colour there. But also you can go up here. You can see here, click here and then go to swatches. And you can then add a current gradient that you've got as a preset. So just click here and you can maybe go to that one or maybe that one. And you can see a variety of different colour effects just by simply clicking there. You can also manipulate the stops for this. Now that doesn't affect the preset. So if you go and change things, you tweak things, that preset is not touched. You can save it, but the one there is not tweaked by anything you do here. And you can just drag this around, move it, decide, you know what, I don't want linear, I want radial. And you can then manipulate, drag this out, move it around, reposition it like that. But also what you can do is you can add additional stops. You might decide, you know what, I don't like that colour. It's close to what I want, but it's not exactly. I might want black over here. So I can click here and then I can run through here, or maybe blue, because of course, as always, you can't find black. Oh, there's black, just over there. But maybe go for that. So you can just change colour. As you see, as you change it, it goes there. But you can also add one, so you can hover over. Now, weirdly, by default, the plus should appear. But when you first try and do it, it doesn't. But click there, it does add it. Subsequently, you will see a plus. Not certain, that seems to be a weird quirk of the thing. But you can click and you can see you can add a colour there, you can click there and add a colour and so on. So you can see you can manipulate that. But again, it's not tweaking anything or changing anything here. And then you can go through this and drag this out and create different designs with that. Now at this point, the gradient fill layer is great, but you can't see the underlying layer. So it would be nice, of course, to do that. Just go over here to layers and you can click here and you go darken, multiply, colour burn. You can run through obviously dark colour, lighten, screen, colour dodge. All those ones are available in Affinity Photo, all the different blend modes. And you can go for, say, hard light. You might create some nice little colour there, soft light, vivid light, and so on. You can also change the opacity, so you might want to reduce it down. You don't want it so extreme, so you might want just subtle colour effect. Just reduce it down to 33%. You can see it's slightly faded now there. And you can then manipulate that up there. Now, one thing you can do with the fill layer is manipulate this. As soon as you see if I deactivate that, you think, oh, well, hang on, how can I change the gradient anymore? Well, you can. Simply just go back, select it, and then you can manipulate this and move it and still add additional stops, change the angle, tweak that, and you can see as you do it, you get a variety of different colour designs straight away that way. But also what you can do is, I'm just going to push this up to 100%. I can also duplicate this design. Now, fill layers are a special type of layer that you can obviously manipulate and work with. You can't apply effects to them. So if you go to filter, say I try that and twirl, just want to point this out, just apply, change that, click apply. Now yours might activate, rasterize it into that. Mine doesn't do that. So with this, it just remains as a fill. If you want to use it with filters, you will have to rasterize it. So right click and then rasterize. And then as soon as you rasterize it, it's no longer a fill layer, but you can apply effects to it. So I wanted to point that out before I go any further. Right click and duplicate. Lots of the features are available by right clicking. So right click, you'll get a lot of access to all the various things that it thinks are key to obviously this fill layer. You can see now I've got a duplicate exactly the same as the previous one. previous layer here, but I can also go here and decide, you know what, I don't want that. I might want subtract or screen and so on. So you can change it. You don't have to all be, they're all independent. So you can change them. And also you can go here and click here and move it around. And then you see that you've got that. And also you've got the circular design down here as well. And you can continue to manipulate that. Also, with this one selected, you can change the color stop. So you can just go through it and change it green to blue, green, etc. Also, let's just go for difference. I'm going to go with difference. Difference is the most dramatic, I think, just to show it. Manipulate that, do that, create that sort of color design. Now you want maybe to actually use it as pixel layer, you can always select both of them. So select both and then right click and rasterize, and it will turn them both into pixel layer. Again, they're no longer fill layers, but you can now modify them using filters such as that. So distort, twirl, etc. So I'll just apply that, and you can see that twirl effect applied there. Drag that out, click apply, and it's applied to both of those layers. Both have got that twirl effect in exactly the same place. But I don't want this. I want fill layers. So let's just undo, put it back to fill layers, and continue to manipulate it. What I can do, I can delete it. If I don't want it, and delete it, or I can just disable that. So you can just remove it just by clicking here. I want to delete it though. So delete, got that. What I can also do, a great way of using, I think, fill layers, create all kinds of unique, really extreme color effects, is to use this option, which is the move tool. So move tool selected. Then with that, press return or enter on the keyboard. And this comes up, the move duplicate. Then you go here, scale, that won't work. So if you go to it, try it, just doesn't work. But rotation does. So you can just change rotation. You can see then how it combines with the image. You just move it, manipulate it, horizontal, and so on. It will reposition it like a sun going across the sky. You can tweak it. It's a pity you can't actually animate it and save it as a movie, unfortunately. Also, at any point, you can always reset it. But you can also duplicate and number of copies. So you can go, say, for 11 or 12, and you see as you change it, you create some very extreme color effects. All this does is produce multiple layers, fill layers. They're all created. At this point, you can't see them. All invisible at the moment. As soon as you click OK, they're all generated exactly the same position. So all exactly identical, all those fill layers. And also what you can do is select them all, and you'll notice all of them have got exactly the same vivid light as well. You can always tweak that and change that. And again, they will all change. So difference or whatever. Also what you can do is you can go over here with them all selected. You can also go over to the gradient tool and manipulate this. And as you tweak that around, they all get tweaked around exactly the same position, which you may or may not want. You don't have to select them all. You could select, say, 4 or 5 and move those around, leaving the others in different positions, and then select those a bit later, maybe. But also what you can do, hover over here, just click here, and again, you can add stops. It's added to all of them. So every one of those will get this additional new stop. Click there, and this, you see, you can manipulate that. But because they're all exactly in the same position on top of each other, nothing changes at this point. But what you can do is you can select obviously 1, 2, or 3. You can then select that, and this is still there. You can move it around. Now you'll notice one thing. If I click that, obviously that's gone now, that gradient tool. But anytime I click any of these, that one will be the one I can manipulate. But again, if I select, say, 4 of those, I can do exactly the same. So 4 of them will change at the same time. And you can also select any number of them or not. So I'm going to select this one, and I can then manipulate that. And you can see as you move around, all kinds of unique color designs can be created. Let's just go with another one there. And you can, of course, also go up here. So you can click there, go for linear, and create a linear. As you can see there, I've got, you can just about make it out, linear design. You can always still, of course, delete some. You might say, you know what, I created too many. So I can always delete them, or maybe make them not visible just by clicking here. And I can delete it. So maybe delete that one, and so on. Create all kinds of unique designs. But at the moment, they are still all independent. I don't really want that. I want to actually manipulate them all in one different thing. So I can select all of them, right click, and rasterize. Now, all rasterized, I can now merge them. So just quickly go up here, layer, and then let's see, merge selected. Merge selected. You notice there's a variation there. It suddenly just changes. Not always the best way it does that. So one time I was doing, I go there, right click, merge down, and then you can merge down and so on. And it does change the colour in many ways. So you might want to just keep them active. I do find it's slightly frustrating with Affinity Photo, the way it then sort of like seems to change the colours as you do any sort of merging. It's a bit of a disappointment, but still. At this point, I'm just going to go with this and merge them all anyway. So merge selected. So merge selected, again, it's lost that initial colour scheme, but I've got this. What I want next to do is to show you can also use this pixel layer. Obviously now it's no longer a fill layer in any shape or form. You can also use it to distort the image. So let's just go here, background. I can just drag that up here. So just drag that up. Come on, go the other way then. Aha. Yes, probably because it's locked there. Okay, so you've got that behind. You think, well, that's not much use. What use is that? Well, what you can now do is you can go to filters and you can go distort, and you can then go down to displace. And you can then use that. So it's got here load maps from layers beneath. And then you can see as you do that, you can distort it. So it's a great really source for all kinds of distortions as well. Now, let's just undo that. Let's just go back to all those layers. If I go up here to the background, I can also simply select this and drag this up. Well, that's actually just before I do that, let's just go back, have them all as fills. So you can see there's some interesting possibilities here. Go to background. I always find sometimes when I drag this up, it doesn't always work exactly. Sometimes it just refuses to go to the top one. Don't know why. Very odd. But you've got this background. Again, you can go to filters, distort, and you can go down here to displace. Displace is one of my favourite filters. You can always go here to strength, load map from layers beneath. Now you can see you've got that. So a really good thing to do is maybe not actually convert it. And that is sometimes with a lot of these things, I prefer just to keep them live. Otherwise, sometimes you do lose the colours for some weird reason in Affinity Photo. I do not know why. Please put in the comments below if you know a reason why when you merge them down or merge selected that you lose what you got. You think it should be exactly as it is the image, but it doesn't always result in that. But you can see now you've got that. But what you can do is you can then manipulate this. So you can say position those. They're still live, so you can move them around. That one's still there. Drag that out there. Sometimes if you go onto the fill layer, it doesn't actually show it straight away. And you think, very strange. Now I've repositioned some of those gradients. So what I can now do is I can go back here. Now with this, I can now again go and apply additional distortion. So filters, distort, and again go down to display. Now the distortion is baked in. The only way around that would have been to undo it before and then go to it later. This again. Now I can do this, load maps from layers beneath, and now you get even more unusual crinkled effect, but they're all changed. Those fill layers have been changed, and click apply, and you got that. Now I'm just going to remove that background layer, but you can see it's great for creating all kinds of distortions as well. So it's not just limited to blending with things, even though sometimes it does have a tendency not to. Probably a better solution is simply just to go to layer and then go down here, merge visible. So let's just go for merge visible. Merge visible does it properly. You've still got all the layers beneath, but it's weird that merge selected, merge down doesn't seem to do the same. Be aware of that when you're using these gradient tools. Now you've still got these, and of course you can still then use this, and you can say multiply, distort, there, screen, etc. Filters and distort and twirl that effect on top of that, and you can see then you've got that, and you can still manipulate these. Just tweak this and change the colours. So you can see these combinations can be created in countless ways. Well, you got this. What if you want to save them, store them away? Well, you can. Go to Window and you can go to Assets. So in Assets, you can just go over here. I've got here Shape Library. Obviously, I could create. Let's go to Assets. Just select something. In this, I can go here. Right click, Add from Selection. So I've got this one, this gradient fill layer selected. So Add from Selection. And now that's been added down here. And you can see then as I drag that over, I can drag this in. Now let's just drag this, make it more obvious that it's doing the right thing. So here's the fill layer again. Here's the fill layer. So you can actually store it away. And again, apply. Now, unfortunately, the color result here is not very effective. It just shows red. I guess that was probably one of the stops that it decides that that's what it's going to use. But you can see you can use this and drag this from the assets, and it stores the blend mode, etc. But also, if you want, you can always go to File, and you can then go to Save As, and you can store all these fill layers and use it later. And obviously, saves it as AF photo format and then click Save. So you can save your work with all these fill layers. And that's a run through of fill layers in Affinity Photo. You can see they can be used in countless ways for distortions, for color effects, with images, and much, much more.